She had always lived a quiet life in a small town where everyone knew everyone else. She worked at a little bakery on the corner of the main street, waking up early every morning to knead the dough and arrange the pastries just so she liked the simple rhythm of her life, the smell of fresh bread and the soft warmth of the oven. She had a small apartment above the bakery, where she kept a few books and a few mementos from her childhood. Nothing in her life suggested anything extraordinary. She had grown up with her mother, who had told her stories about family, but never much about the past. Her father had been absent, and she had no memories of him. She remembered only a faint picture of him from a photograph and a story about a birthmark on her arm that her mother had shown her when she was very young. She had always kept that mark hidden under her sleeve, thinking it was just a small part of her that no one needed to notice. One morning as she was arranging the pastries, a man came into the bakery. He was dressed in a dark suit and carried an air of importance. She noticed the way people glanced at him as he walked through the door. The town had few visitors like him, and he drew attention without even trying. She served him a cup of coffee and a croissant, and he smiled politely, but he did not speak much. He observed the bakery and the people around him with sharp eyes. Like someone who noticed everything, she tried not to stare, but she could not help noticing how different he was from anyone she had ever met. He returned the next day, and the next. Each time he would sit quietly and watch the town go by. Sometimes he would ask her about the pastries or about the town, but never about her. She began to wonder why he kept coming. She had seen rich people before, but they usually did not spend time in small places like this. Most of them came and went. She did not understand why he stayed. She had a feeling there was something about her that had caught his attention, but she could not imagine what. One afternoon, the bakery was busy, and she was helping a customer when she felt him watching her. She turned briefly, and their eyes met. She felt a strange sense of familiarity. She did not know why, but it was almost as if she had known him before, but that was impossible. She returned to her work, trying to shake the feeling away. That evening, as she cleaned the bakery and prepared for the next day, she thought about the man. She wondered who he really was, and why he seemed so interested in the town and in her. She felt both curious and nervous. She had never had someone pay so much attention to her. She closed the windows and turned off the ovens and went upstairs to her small apartment. She sat by the window looking at the street below and wondered if she would see him again. The next morning she arrived at the bakery and found a small note on the counter. It was written in neat handwriting, and it said, "Thank you for the coffee and the company." She was surprised. She had never received a note from a customer before. She looked around, but he was not there. She felt a flutter of curiosity and something else she could not name. She kept the note carefully and went about her work wondering who he really was. Days passed, and the man continued to come to the bakery. He never stayed long enough to talk much, but she noticed that he would glance at her from time to time. He seemed to watch her in a way that was different from other people. It was not just interest in the pastries or the town. It was something deeper. She could not understand it. She started to feel a little anxious and a little excited. She wondered if she was imagining things or if he really was paying attention to her. One day she was carrying a tray of pastries to a customer when she tripped slightly and dropped some of them. The man rushed to help her and picked up the pastries. She felt embarrassed, but he smiled kindly and said it was not a problem. She noticed then that he had a small scar on his hand, and she felt a strange connection. She did not know why, but it reminded her of something from her past. She quickly shook off the feeling and focused on her work. That evening, she went for a walk in the town square. She liked to walk after work to clear her mind. She saw the man standing by the fountain looking at the sky. She thought about turning around, but something inside told her to approach him. She walked slowly and said hello. He looked at her and nodded politely. They did not speak much, but there was a silence that felt heavy with unspoken words. She wondered if he felt it too. Over the next few weeks, she began to notice small things. He would leave small gifts on the table at the bakery, a book, a flower, a note. She did not understand why he did these things. She did not know if it was a gesture of friendship or something more. She felt a mixture of curiosity and caution. She did not want to get her hopes up. She remembered the stories her mother had told her about people who disappeared from your life suddenly and left nothing behind. She did not want to be disappointed. One evening, as she was closing the bakery, she realized she had forgotten to lock the back door. She went to lock it and found the man standing there waiting. He looked at her and smiled in a way that made her heart race. She noticed then the way the light caught the small birthmark on her arm as she moved. She had forgotten about it, but in that moment, she felt exposed and vulnerable. She quickly covered it with her sleeve and looked at him. He said nothing, but there was a look in his eyes that made her feel as if he knew something she did. Nachi went upstairs to her apartment and could not sleep. She kept thinking about the man and the way he had looked at her. She thought about the birthmark and the stories her mother had told her. She wondered if there was a connection between him and her past. She had no idea what it could be, but she felt that something important was about to happen. She tried to calm herself, but her mind kept racing. She thought about the possibility that he might know something about her father or her family. She did not know if she was ready to find out. The next morning, she arrived at the bakery to find the man waiting outside. He handed her a small envelope and walked away without a word. She opened it carefully and found a photograph of a woman she did not recognize but who looked very much like her. She also found a note that said, "She is closer to you than you think." She felt a chill run through her body. She had no idea what it meant, but she knew that her life was about to change from that day on. She began to notice more about the man and more about herself. She began to remember things from her past that she had long forgotten. She began to wonder about the connection between the birthmark and the man. She felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. She did not know what was coming, but she knew that she could not ignore it. She felt that the story of her life was about to take a turn that she had never imagined. She felt both afraid and hopeful. She did not know what the future held, but she knew that something important was waiting for her and that she had to be ready for it. She could not stop thinking about the photograph and the note. She kept looking at it over and over, trying to understand what it meant. She had never seen the woman in the photograph before, but there was something about her face that felt familiar. She wondered if she had seen her in a dream, or if it was some memory from her early childhood. She kept turning the envelope in her hands, feeling both nervous and curious. The man continued to come to the bakery, but he was even quieter now. He watched her from a distance, sometimes sitting in the corner of the shop, and sometimes standing outside looking through the window. She felt a strange mixture of fear and comfort when she saw him. She wanted to ask him questions, but at the same time, she was afraid of what she might learn. She thought about the stories her mother had told her about family and secrets. She wondered if the man knew something about her past that she did. Not one day, while cleaning the tables, she noticed him staring at her more intensely than usual. She felt her heart race. She tried to act normal, but she could feel his gaze on her. She realized that he was not just interested in the bakery or the town. He was interested in her. She felt both anxious and excited. She did not understand why she felt this way, but she could not deny the pull she felt toward him. That evening, she decided to take a walk to clear her mind. She walked slowly through the streets of the town, thinking about the photograph and the note. She felt a chill in the air and wrapped her arms around herself. She noticed the man standing near the fountain again. He looked at her and smiled softly. She felt a wave of recognition, and something inside her told her to approach him. She walked toward him, and they stood in silence for a moment, just looking at each other. She felt as if the world had stopped around them. He finally spoke in a quiet voice, asking if she knew anything about the woman in the photograph. She shook her head, not understanding what he meant. He explained that the woman was connected to her family, and that there were things from the past she needed to know. She felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. She wanted to run away, but she also wanted to know the truth. She felt that her life was changing in ways she could not imagine. Over the next few days, she tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting to the man and the photograph. She began to notice things she had never noticed before, small details about the town and the people around her. She began to remember fragments of stories her mother had told her about family members she had never met. She began to feel a strange connection between those stories and the man. She did not understand it fully, but she could feel it in her heart. The man began to leave small clues for her. He would leave notes or objects at the bakery that seemed ordinary at first, but slowly revealed a pattern. He was guiding her gently toward the truth. She felt a mixture of frustration and gratitude. She did not understand why he was doing this, but she felt that he was trying to help her. She began to trust him more, even though she still had questions, and outs one. Afternoon, she was closing the bakery when she noticed a small envelope slipped under the door she picked. It up and opened it carefully. Inside was a letter explaining that the birthmark on her arm was the key to understanding her past. She felt a shiver run through her body. She had always thought of it as just a small mark, but now she realized it held a deeper meaning. She remembered the stories her mother had told her about her father and family. She began to feel a sense of purpose and urgency. She began to look at herself differently, noticing the birthmark more carefully. She felt a strange sense of identity returning. She began to understand that the man was not just a stranger, he was connected to her past in ways she could not yet fully grasp. She felt both fear and hope. She wanted to know the truth, even if it meant confronting painful memories. She felt that she was ready to take the next step, even though she did not know what that step would be. Man finally invited her to meet him in a quiet place outside the town. He explained that he had information about her family, and that there were people who had kept secrets from her for many years. She felt nervous as she walked to meet him. She wondered if she was ready to face the truth. She thought about her mother and the stories she had told. She thought about the birthmark and the photograph. She felt that everything was coming together in a way she had never expected. When she met him, he handed her a small box inside, which were letters, photographs, and documents that revealed her family history. She began to read them slowly, absorbing every word. She learned about her father and relatives she had never met. She learned about betrayals and losses, and about the people who had tried to protect her. She felt a mixture of sadness and relief. She finally understood why her life had been the way it was and why certain things had been kept from her. She spent hours going through the documents and letters. She felt a sense of connection to her family that she had never felt before. She realized that the birthmark was a symbol of that connection, a sign that she belonged to something bigger than herself. She felt gratitude toward the man for helping her discover the truth. She still had many questions, but she felt that she had taken the first step toward understanding her past. The man explained that there were more people who would want to meet her, and that her journey was only beginning. She felt nervous but also excited. She realized that her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. She felt ready to face whatever came next. She thanked the man quietly and promised herself that she would continue to seek the truth even if it was difficult. Over the next few days, she reflected on everything she had learned. She began to remember more stories from her mother and pieces of her childhood she had forgotten. She began to feel a sense of purpose and identity. She realized that she was not alone, and that there were people who cared about her and wanted to help her. She felt hope for the first time in a long time. She continued to work at the bakery, but she felt different. She noticed the beauty in simple things, the smiles of customers, the smell of fresh bread, and the warmth of the ovens. She realized that her life had always had value. Even before she discovered the truth, she felt stronger and more confident. She knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but she also knew that she was ready. One evening, she walked through the town square thinking about the man and the photograph. She felt a sense of connection to her past and to the people she had never met. She realized that the birthmark was more than just a mark. It was a sign of who she was and where she came from. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and a determination to move forward. She knew that the story of her life was unfolding in ways she could not yet see, but she was ready to embrace it fully. She could not stop thinking about the documents and letters she had found. They had revealed pieces of her family she had never known about. She spent hours reading and rereading them, trying to understand everything. She felt a mix of sadness and hope as she discovered stories of love and loss, betrayal and protection. She realized that her family history was complicated and full of secrets. She began to understand why her mother had kept certain things from her, and why she had grown up with so many questions. The man continued to visit the town, but now their meetings were different. They spoke more openly about her past and about the people connected to her. She felt a growing sense of trust and a strange comfort in his presence. He shared details about her father and relatives she had never met. She learned that some people had worked to keep her safe, and that the birthmark on her arm was a symbol that she was connected to them. She felt a mixture of relief and curiosity as she tried to piece together the puzzle of her life. One afternoon they walked together through the park. He showed her places that held significance for her family and told her stories about moments she had never experienced but that had shaped her past. She felt like she was walking through memories that were not her own, but somehow belonged to her. She felt a deep connection to the stories and to the man who was guiding her. She began to realize that she had been searching for this understanding her entire life. As the days passed, she started to notice similarities between herself and the people in the photographs she saw, traits she had never recognized before, and began to feel a sense of belonging. She began to remember moments from her childhood that had seemed ordinary, but now took on new meaning. She realized that she had been surrounded by love and care even when she had not understood it. She felt a mixture of gratitude and sadness for the years she had spent without this knowledge. The man explained that there were still people she needed to meet, relatives who had been waiting for her. She felt nervous about the encounters, but also eager to connect. She realized that meeting them could help her understand her identity and give her a sense of family she had never known. She felt a mix of fear and anticipation as she prepared for these meetings. She knew that her life was changing and that she needed to be ready for the next steps. She received invitations to visit homes and places where her family had gathered. She felt anxious about how she would be received. She wondered if they would accept her or if she would feel out of place. She thought about the birthmark and the connection it represented. She realized that it was a key that could open doors to understanding her past. She felt a growing determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead and to learn the truth about her family. When she visited the first relative, she felt nervous and unsure of what to say. She was greeted with warmth and curiosity. They shared stories and memories that she had never heard before. She felt a growing sense of connection and belonging. She began to understand that her family had been waiting for her, and that they had cared for her even from a distance. She felt relief and joy as she realized that she was not alone and that she had people who wanted to be part of her life. Over the following days, she continued to meet other relatives. She discovered connections and shared memories that made her feel more grounded in her family history. She learned about traditions and values that had been passed down through generations. She began to feel a sense of pride and identity that she had never experienced before. Realized that the birthmark was more than just a mark. It was a symbol of her place in a larger story. She felt grateful for the man who had guided her and helped her understand the truth. She also learned about the challenges and difficulties her family had faced over the years. She discovered stories of loss and separation that had caused pain and hardship. She felt sadness for the struggles they had endured, but also admiration for their resilience and strength. She realized that understanding the full story of her family included both the joyful and the difficult moments. She felt a growing sense of empathy and appreciation for the people who had shaped her history. The man continued to provide guidance and support. He helped her navigate the emotions and questions that arose. As she learned more about her family, she felt comforted by his presence and by the patience he showed. Her trust in him deepened as she realized that he genuinely wanted to help her find the truth. She felt a mixture of gratitude and respect as she relied on his guidance to make sense of her past. One evening, they sat together in a quiet room going through old photographs and letters. She felt a sense of wonder as she looked at images of people she had never met but who shared her features and traits. She realized that the birthmark was a sign of connection not just to her father, but to a larger family network. She felt a growing sense of identity and belonging as she absorbed the stories and memories. She realized that she was part of something bigger than herself. As she spent more time learning about her family, she began to feel more confident and self-assured. She understood that her life had meaning and that her experiences had shaped her into the person she had become. She felt a mixture of strength and vulnerability. As she reflected on the journey she had undertaken, she realized that discovering the truth about her family was not just about learning facts. It was about understanding herself and her place in the world. The man explained that there were still questions to be answered and mysteries to uncover. She felt a sense of anticipation and curiosity. She knew that the journey was not over, and that there were more discoveries to be made. She felt ready to continue exploring her past and to face whatever truths awaited her. She understood that the process of learning about her family would take time, but she was committed to seeing it Through she felt determined and hopeful as she prepared for the next phase of her journey. She began to notice changes in herself. She felt more grounded and connected. She saw the world with new eyes, appreciating the small details and recognizing the significance of the people and places around her. She felt a deeper sense of empathy and understanding for the challenges and experiences of others. She realized that learning about her family had taught her more about life and relationships than she had ever known. She felt a growing sense of wisdom and perspective as the days turned into weeks. She continued to uncover stories and memories. She realized that the birthmark was a key to unlocking her identity and understanding her past. She felt a sense of completeness as she pieced together the fragments of her history. She understood that her journey was not just about discovering facts. It was about building connections and finding a sense of belonging. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment as she embraced the truth of her family and her place within it. She felt a growing sense of connection to her family as she learned more about their lives and experiences. She began to understand the struggles and sacrifices they had made over the years. She felt a mixture of sorrow and admiration for their resilience and courage. Realized that her own life was shaped not just by her experiences, but also by the legacy of her family. She felt a deep sense of respect and appreciation for the people who had come before her. The man continued to guide her through the process of discovering her family. He helped her understand the relationships and connections that had been hidden from her. She felt grateful for his patience and support. She realized that she was not alone in this journey, and that having someone to help her made it easier to face the challenges ahead. She felt a growing sense of trust and comfort in his presence. She received a letter inviting her to meet a relative she had never known. She felt nervous and unsure of what to expect. She wondered if they would accept her or if she would feel out of place. She thought about the birthmark and the connection it represented. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement as she prepared for the meeting. She knew that this encounter could change her life and that she needed to be ready for whatever came next. When she arrived at the house, she was greeted warmly by her relative. They shared stories and memories that she had never heard before. She felt a growing sense of belonging and acceptance. She realized that her family had been waiting for her and that they cared about her, even from a distance. She felt relief and joy as she began to understand that she was not alone. She had people who wanted to be part of her life and who valued her presence. Over the following days, she continued to meet other relatives. She discovered shared traits and characteristics that made her feel more connected to her family. She learned about traditions and values that had been passed down through generations. She felt a sense of pride and identity as she embraced these connections. She realized that her birthmark was more than just a physical mark. It was a symbol of her place within the family. She felt a deep sense of belonging and fulfillment. She also learned about the challenges and hardships her family had faced. She discovered stories of loss and separation that had caused pain and difficulty. She felt empathy and understanding for the struggles they had endured. She realized that knowing the full story of her family included both joyful and painful moments. She felt a growing sense of compassion and appreciation for the people who had shaped her history. She understood that their experiences had influenced her life in ways she was only beginning to comprehend. Man continued to provide guidance and support as she navigated these new relationships. She felt comforted by his presence and by the way he helped her understand complex emotions and situations. She realized that having someone to guide her made it easier to process the information and emotions she was experiencing. She felt a mixture of gratitude and trust as she relied on his guidance to make sense of her past. One evening, they sat together going through old photographs and letters. She felt a sense of wonder as she looked at images of people she had never met, but who shared her features and traits. She realized that the birthmark was a sign of connection, not just to her father, but to a larger network of family. She felt a growing sense of identity and belonging as she absorbed the stories and memories. She understood that she was part of something bigger than herself and that her life had a deeper meaning. As she spent more time learning about her family, she began to feel more confident and self-assured. She understood that her life had value and that her experiences had shaped her into the person she had become. She felt a mixture of strength and vulnerability as she reflected on the journey she had undertaken, she realized that discovering the truth about her family was not just about learning facts, it was about understanding herself and her place in the world. She felt a growing sense of purpose and determination. Man explained that there were still questions to be answered and mysteries to uncover. She felt a sense of anticipation and curiosity. She knew that the journey was not over and that there were more discoveries to be made. She felt ready to continue exploring her past and to face whatever truths awaited her. She understood that the process of learning about her family would take time, but she was committed to seeing it through. She felt determined and hopeful as she prepared for the next phase of her journey. She began to notice changes in herself. She felt more grounded and connected. She saw the world with new eyes, appreciating the small details and recognizing the significance of the people and places around her. She felt a deeper sense of empathy and understanding for the challenges and experiences of others. She realized that learning about her family had taught her more about life and relationships than she had ever known. She felt a growing sense of wisdom and perspective as the days turned into weeks. She continued to uncover stories and memories. She realized that the birthmark was a key to unlocking her identity and understanding her past. She felt a sense of completeness as she pieced together the fragments of her history. She understood that her journey was not just about discovering facts. It was about building connections and finding a sense of belonging. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment as she embraced the truth of her family and her place within it. She spent time reflecting on the lessons she had learned and the relationships she had built. She realized that the journey had changed her in profound ways. She felt a growing sense of self-awareness and maturity. She understood that her past had shaped her but did not define her. She felt empowered to move forward with confidence and to continue building meaningful connections with her family and the people who mattered to her. The man remained a steady presence in her life, guiding and supporting her as she navigated the complexities of her family history. She felt grateful for his patience and understanding. She realized that his support had been instrumental in helping her uncover the truth and embrace her identity. She felt a deep sense of appreciation for the role he had played in her journey and for the trust and connection they had developed. She felt a sense of peace as she reflected on the journey she had been through. She had uncovered the truth about her family and learned about the connections that had always been there. She felt grateful for the man who had guided her and helped her navigate the difficult emotions and discoveries. She realized that her life had changed in ways she could never have imagined, and that she was stronger for having faced the truth. Over the next days, she continued to spend time with her family, meeting relatives she had never known and building relationships that were new and meaningful. She felt a growing sense of belonging and identity. She began to understand that family was not just about blood. It was about trust, care, and the willingness to be there for one another. She felt joy as she connected with people who had always been part of her life. Even if she had not known it before, the man continued to support her, offering guidance and encouragement as she navigated her new reality. She felt a deep sense of appreciation for his presence and his patience. He never rushed her and allowed her to discover the truth at her own pace. She realized that having someone who believed in her and cared about her well-being made the journey easier and more meaningful. She felt a growing bond of trust and understanding between them. She began to explore her own feelings about the birthmark and what it represented. She understood that it was more than a physical mark. It was a symbol of her connection to her family and her identity. She felt proud of the mark that had once seemed ordinary and now represented something profound. She began to wear her life in history with confidence. She understood that every experience she had been through had contributed to who she was becoming. She reflected on the challenges she had faced and the fears she had felt. She realized that confronting the unknown and learning the truth had been difficult but necessary. She felt a sense of strength and resilience. She understood that life was about facing challenges and finding meaning in them. She felt a growing determination to embrace the future with courage and hope. She knew that her journey was ongoing, but she felt ready for whatever came next. The man shared stories of her father and relatives, and how they had tried to protect her and provide for her, even from a distance. She listened carefully, Absorbing every detail, she felt a deep sense of gratitude and connection. She realized that the sacrifices and choices made by others had shaped her life in ways she had not understood. She felt a mixture of respect, admiration, and love for the people who had cared for her and ensured her safety. She began to spend more time learning about her family's history, visiting places that had significance, and understanding traditions that had been passed down through generations. She felt a sense of continuity and belonging. She understood that her life was part of a larger story, and that she was a link in a chain of experiences and relationships that had endured over time. She felt pride and joy as she embraced this connection and began to understand her place in the world. As she grew more comfortable with her family, she began to think about the future. She wanted to maintain the connections she had built and continued to learn about her heritage. She felt a sense of responsibility to honor the past and to carry forward the values and lessons she had learned. She understood that her journey was not only about discovering the truth, but also about living fully and meaningfully in the present. She felt a sense of purpose and direction. The man encouraged her to continue exploring her identity and relationships. He reminded her that discovering the truth was a process and that she should take her time. She felt reassured by his words and felt a sense of calm. She understood that having guidance and support did not diminish her independence, but strengthened her ability to make decisions and navigate life. She felt empowered and ready to face new challenges. She reflected on the moments that had led her to this point, the notes, the photograph, the birthmark, and the meetings with her family. She realized that each step had been necessary and meaningful. She felt a deep appreciation for the journey and for the people who had been part of it. She understood that her life had been guided by both chance and intention, and that she had grown because of it. She felt a sense of fulfillment and completion. She began to share stories and experiences with her family and friends. She felt joy in connecting and in helping others understand her journey. She realized that her story could inspire and comfort others who were searching for answers or dealing with uncertainties. She felt proud of the growth she had achieved and the strength she had found within herself. She understood that sharing her experiences was part of embracing her identity and place in the world. She continued to spend time reflecting on the birthmark and its meaning. She realized that it was not just a connection to her past, but also a symbol of hope for the future. She felt that it represented resilience, identity, and the bonds of love that could endure across time and distance. She felt a sense of peace and acceptance. She understood that her life was richer and more meaningful because of the journey she had undertaken. The man remained a steady presence in her life, offering support, guidance, and friendship. She felt grateful for his patience, understanding, and kindness. She realized that his presence had been instrumental in helping her navigate the complexities of her family and identity. She felt a deep sense of trust and connection, and understood that she could rely on him as she continued to explore her past and build her future. She felt confident and ready to face the next chapter of her life. She understood that discovering the truth about her family had given her a sense of identity and belonging that she had longed for. She felt a growing sense of self-awareness and maturity. She realized that her experiences had shaped her but had not defined her. She felt empowered to make choices that reflected her values and to continue building meaningful connections with her family and those who mattered most. She spent time appreciating the simple joys of life, the warmth of her home, the beauty of her town, and the connections she had built. She realized that happiness came from understanding her past, embracing her present, and looking forward to the future. She felt a deep sense of contentment and fulfillment. She understood that her journey had taught her the importance of patience, courage, and love. She felt ready to live fully and meaningfully as she walked through the streets of her town. She reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. She understood that the birthmark that had once seemed ordinary was now a symbol of her identity and connection. She felt proud and confident. She understood that her life was richer and more meaningful because she had faced the truth. She felt a deep sense of peace and hope. She knew that the future held opportunities and challenges, but she was ready to embrace them with courage and grace. She woke up early as usual, but today she felt a sense of excitement she had not felt before. She looked at the sunrise and felt that something new was beginning in her life. She thought about the man and her family and the journey that had brought her to this point. She felt a deep sense of gratitude and hope she knew that today could bring new experiences and opportunities that she had never imagined. She took a deep breath and stepped outside, feeling the fresh morning air and the warmth of possibility. Walked to the bakery feeling a sense of purpose. She wanted to start the day by doing something meaningful. She arranged the pastries with care, noticing the small details she had never paid attention to before. She greeted her customers with warmth and felt joy in their smiles and conversations. She realized that even the small things in life held value and that paying attention to them made life richer. She felt connected to the people around her and to the rhythm of her daily life. The man arrived at the bakery and she noticed the smile on his face. She felt a sense of comfort seeing him. She realized that his presence had become a part of her life in a way that felt natural and reassuring. He did not speak much at first, but just being there gave her a sense of confidence and calm. She felt that together they could face anything that was yet to come. She felt gratitude for the support he had offered throughout her journey. After the bakery closed, she went for a walk with him. Through the town, she wanted to share her thoughts and feelings about everything that had happened. She spoke about her family, her discoveries, and how she had come to understand herself. She realized that expressing her emotions out loud made them feel more real and helped her process them. She felt a growing sense of clarity, an understanding about her identity and her place in the world. They stopped by the fountain where they had first met, and she felt a sense of nostalgia. She remembered the moment she had first felt a strange familiarity with him and how it had led her to discover her family. She realized that small moments often led to big changes in life, and that paying attention to them could change everything. She felt thankful for the journey and the lessons she had learned along the way. As they continued to walk, she noticed new faces in the town, people she had not seen before. She realized that the town was always changing, just as life was always moving forward. She felt a sense of acceptance and understanding that change was a part of life. She knew that her journey of discovery was ongoing and that she would continue to learn and grow. She felt ready to embrace the future with confidence and hope. They stopped at a quiet park and sat on a bench. She spoke about her dreams for the future and the plans she wanted to make. She realized that understanding her past had given her the tools to shape her future. She felt empowered and motivated to pursue her goals and to build meaningful connections with the people around her. She understood that life was about both learning from the past and looking forward with intention and purpose. Man listened patiently and offered gentle guidance. She felt reassured by his presence and appreciated the way he encouraged her to think deeply about her choices. She realized that having someone to share her thoughts with made her feel stronger and more capable. She felt a sense of partnership and trust that had grown over time and felt confident in the decisions she was making about her life. She began to reflect on the lessons she had learned. She understood the importance of patience and resilience. She realized that discovering the truth about her family had taught her more about herself than anything else. She felt a sense of peace knowing that she had faced challenges and uncertainties and had come out stronger. She understood that life was full of both difficulties, opportunities, and that embracing both was the key to growth. As they walked back to the bakery, she noticed the familiar sights and sounds of the town. She felt a sense of appreciation for the life she had built and the people who had become part of it. She realized that her journey was not just about discovering her past, but also about living fully in the present. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment and contentment, knowing that she had learned to value the small moments and connections that made life meaningful. At the bakery, she spent time helping customers and arranging pastries. She felt joy in the simple tasks and in the interactions with the people around her. She realized that happiness could be found in everyday moments, and that paying attention to them made life richer. She felt connected to her community and to the rhythm of her daily life. She understood that living fully and meaningfully was about embracing the present with awareness and gratitude. In the evening, she met with her family and shared stories and experiences. She felt a sense of connection and belonging that she had never felt before. She realized that her journey had not only brought her closer to her family, but it also helped her understand herself better. She felt joy and fulfillment in these connections and a deep sense of appreciation for the love and support she had received. She understood that family was about more than just blood. It was about trust, care, and shared experiences. Reflected on the birthmark and what it had come to symbolize in her life, she realized that it represented connection, identity, and resilience. She felt proud of the mark that had once seemed ordinary and now held deep meaning. She understood that her life was richer because of the journey she had undertaken and the discoveries she had made. She felt a sense of peace and acceptance with herself and her past, and encouraged her to continue exploring her identity and relationships. She felt reassured and confident, knowing that she had support and guidance. She understood that the journey of discovery was ongoing and that each day brought new opportunities for growth and understanding. She felt a sense of excitement and hope for the future. She knew that she was capable of facing whatever challenges came her way and that she could continue to build meaningful connections. Night fell. She walked home through the quiet streets of the town. She reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. She realized that the birthmark that had once seemed ordinary was now a symbol of her identity and connection. She felt proud and confident. She understood that her life was richer and more meaningful because she had faced the truth. She felt a deep sense of peace, hope, and readiness for the future. She knew that the days ahead would bring new experiences and challenges, but she was ready to embrace them fully with courage and grace.